Hey there, so today we have another video, and this is my top 10 beers of 2023. I actually haven't done this video in a few years, so thought I'd bring it back, and I couldn't avoid it any longer. It is literally New Year's Eve, so we're going to get this video out. All the beers are actually reviewed in the description below, so you can check out the videos if you're curious about what my full review of the beers were. I will say the theme about this is so we're bringing some beers back. It's a very good year for nostalgia, classic beers that I've had, and honestly, it works out for you guys because a lot of these are accessible in your market. So we're gonna go with an honorable mention, one that didn't make a list. We can only put 10 on there. So number 11 goes to La Chouffe, Brasserie du Chouffe, La Chouffe. So a lot of people, revere the Trappist beers, Rochefort, and non-Trappist like Saint Bernardus and Duvel, blah blah. La Chouffe really should be up there. Absolutely delicious, bone dry, delicious, highly carbonated, just a wonderful Belgian golden ale. In the vein of, a lot of people are big fans of La Fin du Monde and Victory Gold Monkey and Delirium Tremens. Get La Chouffe. I highly recommend it. Number 10 goes to Lion Stout, all the way from Sri Lanka, a tiny island outside of India. People go crazy for some barrel aged stout this, and I'm a big fan of American Imperial Stouts, not even the non-barrel aged stuff. We're talking about pastry stouts, this and that. I was just at the store, and honestly, I probably made a mistake not picking it up. It was $11.99 for 4-pack of tall boy cans. I think they're actually 16.9 ounce, so they're even bigger. And what a delicious, think of that price point. The analogy I give is it's almost like In-N-Out. It's like, how's In-N-Out cheaper than McDonald's, yet infinitely better in quality? And it's Lion Stout does that. It's wonderful, complex. It's pretty much Imperial Stout. BJCP calls it tropical stout, and it does sort of sit in that boat instead of classic American Imperial Stout. But it's such a delicious beer, so I highly recommend it. Number 9 goes to Goose Island Sophie. Honestly, going back to the list, I probably should have it higher. This is such an incredible saison. People have their pick. Some people are Tank 7 guys. Some people are obviously Saison DuPont guys. I'm a Goose Island Sophie guy. I love the vibrancy and freshness of that beer. Obviously, it doesn't come all the way from Belgium, but even then, it has a little bit of Brett touch to it because it has that 10% of that mixed fermentation beer mixed into it, and it's just lively, orangey, and I just love that beer. So it's been hard to find. So if you guys have it in your market, I highly recommend getting some. Number 8 goes to a couple flashbacks, or what do you want to call them? Callbacks. These are Sierra Nevada's Ruthless Rye and Flipside IPA. So they sort of split the award. I wish I got these beers a little fresher. And when I reviewed them for you guys, when I had it in New York on draft, the Flipside Red IPA just blew me away. Drinking hazy. It was a really nice meetup. So shout out to you guys at the meetup at the Grand Delancey. We were drinking some hazy, some lager, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then, afterwards, I decided to have a pint for myself. And first off, it was the cheapest beer on the menu, and by far one of the best beers on the menu. Holy moly. I love what Flipside IPA does with that kind of just berry blunt thing. I reviewed a can of it last night. It's just a wonderful flavor complexity. That combination is just fun. You drinking liquid blunts. I don't know what else to say. Sorry, I should probably keep track of my numbers. 10, 9, 8. Number 7 goes to Jester King, Le Petit Prince, and Snorkel. So they're another split reward kind of thing. Award kind of thing. So these are interesting in the sense that the price point's a little rough because, I can get it. I just saw it at Total Wine. It's like $5 a can. So obviously from the brewery, I assume it's cheaper, but it's hard to justify $5 a can for something that's under 3% ABV or somewhere around there. But I just absolutely love the complexity of flavor that Jester King is able to produce at beers that are around 3, 4, whatever they're locked in. I think 3.9 is the highest on maybe Snorkel, but it's just incredible. And I think a lot of people would poo-poo that. It's what's the point of drinking alcohol, beer / alcohol at that ABV? But again, I think it's such an interesting task to create complexity in such tiny beers, and it's such delicious flavor in such tiny beers. And I wish there was more diversity. That's one of the great things about beer, actually, that you can get something all the way from 3% and go all the way to a Black Tuesday, that clocks in at 19.5%. Whereas wine, you're a little bit tighter, and then liquor, you're right. It's a wonderful thing. First off, beer is way lower ABV than any of those. But then there's this wide range of ABV, color, and flavor, and that diversity is just something I love about beer. And Jester King did it this year. So Number 6, we have Jolly Pumpkin, Oro de Calabaza. So, one of the things I always loved, being from up north, it was those trips to Hill Farmstead, and then finding out, like, wait, like I can get like Arthur and Anna for like $10 a bomber and SM50, and just like buy, like I would leave there with like 2, 3, 4 cases of this stuff, because you open one every month or one every week, and it's just such an enjoyable experience. It's such a delicious, refreshing experience of world class beer, and I obviously miss that because I don't get Hill Farmstead down here anymore. But a great, one thing to really scratch that itch is this delicious beer from Jolly Pumpkin, the wonderful complexity, a lot of analogous flavors. Oro de Calabaza, their mixed fermentation ale, absolutely fantastic. Number 5, we go to, I reviewed this one early. This was all the way back in January. Actually, it almost fell off the list because I was going back on reviews and didn't realize I had to go for that far back. And so this is a collaboration between Threes Brewing and Hudson Valley. Actually went to Threes Brewing when I was in New York. They didn't have anything this good. And the beer is called Future Reference. So this is their dark lager. And boy, did they create such an immense amount of complexity. I actually just realized I probably should have a beer on there on this list, so I'm going to go back. But anyway, absolutely so much complexity for a dark lager that's like under 5%. So delicious. Malt complexity for days. Not enough dark lagers out there, and I love it. So again, I don't think I reviewed another dark lager this year. So shout out to them for making such a delicious beer with such wonderful complexity for such low ABV. So number 4. Well, see, this list would be a little funky if every year just Goose Island made it. So I sort of like tried to like avoid that, but I sort of had to with a callback with Goose Island's Backyard Rye. So they brought it back. I remember this beer being so good. One of my favorite variants of Bourbon County. Maybe not as good as my memory serves with this new iteration, but definitely worth trying. If you never had Backyard Rye, and we're talking about like a decade ago, get this one. Granted, it's a little bit, the price point's rough. Like you're almost paying double for, obviously not double the experience of Bourbon County, but it's such a cool callback, and I just love that kind of like berry compote complexity with Bourbon County. It's very delicious, so try it out. Number 3, that is one of my desert island beers. Yeah, number 3, we're going Westbrook Goza. It's such a shame. Like I'm really not that far from Charleston. Like I literally, when I moved down here, did that in one day. This is a half a day of a drive. And for some reason, we don't get Westbrook Goza, despite Westbrook being a pretty decent-sized production. And what a just refreshing, delicious beer that I'd want to have in my fridge all the time. Love the acidity to it. It's not really to style. Gozas really shouldn't be that sour or salty, but it just hits the perfect point for me. And again, it's one of my favorite beers of all time, like literally like all time. So obviously made a list. I was very happy revisiting it. I wish I could just have more of it, but we don't really get Westbrook Goza down here consistently, so it's a shame. Number 2, well, shout out to Bobby. It's another Jesse King, so we get 2 Jesse Kings on the list. It goes to Jesse King's Modern Dansk. Anyway, Master of Hoppets, you guys are familiar, I've actually met him before, a great friend. And he actually has the bourbon barrel-aged Balcones version from 2021 on his list, and I have the newest blend. And so thank you so much for sending this one out, Bobby. What a delicious beer. Wonderful, rich fruit complexity. I mean, when you talk about like American mixed fermentation wild ale, like that's the bee's knees. I mean, like for some people, there's maybe too much fruit, but I sometimes it's just, you got to do it. And like, it's just so delicious that, Stevens Beer, cherry juice that they use, it's just so rich and complex and such a plush, luscious beer. I mean, it's just like sitting in silk. It's such an elegant experience having that beer. Yeah, absolutely insane. So, fortunately, some of these beers you can find on the list. This one's probably gonna be a little harder if you need to go Jesse King, but it is what it is. Number 1, this beer I've actually, I think I looked it up. I think I reviewed it 3 times this year, and so. A lot of people ask, like, what do you think about Florida? You poo-poo Florida and all this and that. But I will say, if I had to make a list and I had to name, like, the top 3 things, blah, 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 Florida, one of them would easily be Cigar City High Life. So that's the number 1 of this year. Realization, I mean, I'm going on living here almost 4 years now. I've been here for 4 years already, and it's such a special treat. It's not always. I mean, obviously it's a consistent beer. It's a large facility, blah blah. But when it hits, like when it's like right on, it is just one of the best IPAs out there, in my opinion. Especially like for a beer that's so accessible. Like, man, that is so crazy that, I mean, forget about hazy this, hazy that, and it's its own kind of animal. What High Lie does, it's not quite like not remotely bone dry like some of the West Coast San Diego IPAs, nor is it dank as the Portland ones. Nor does it have the crystal malt character that the Sierra Nevada beers have, but it does have some crystal malt to it. But then it's just so richly orange marmaladey. Like, I think full blind, even myself might guess that beer has oranges added to it or some kind of citrus fruit or natural flavor additions, but it doesn't. And it's just hops, and it's just so freaking citrusy, juicy, and it's perfect for like Florida's the orange state, and somehow High Lie just delivers on that to such a delicious extent, with the intensity of hop flavor, malt complexity to it, the bitterness. It just does so many great things for a great IPA, and it's really wonderful. And that's probably why it's number one, that it's accessible, and I could just literally a gas station might have it fresher than a beer, probably have it fresher than a beer store because it rotates. And so I literally can, like, every quarter mile, I could literally stop and just get a world-class 100 out of 100 beer. And that the thought of that is just like, oh, really? Wow, okay. We can do that here? And then I guess that's sort of like what people feel like in Vermont. Like, I could just like turn around the corner and go to the store and get, Heady Topper. Or the people that live in Ohio, they just turn around and get Headhunter. Or the people that can just go to Whole Foods in California and just get like Pliny the Elder, right? Like, everybody has their just like really, I can do this? Like, it's a little bit, and then the thing is, like, I can do this, but nobody else can, right? Or regionally. But thankfully, Cigar City High Lie is pretty well distributed. I want to say it's up and down the East Coast, and if your mark can get it, you can get it. But like for me, it's crazy. I mean, probably can get to the brewery like in less than 2 hours right now. So very dope to be close to such a world-class, delicious beer, have accessibility to it. And as I was talking, I interrupted myself, and I guess you guys too. Another honorable mention I do want to give. Another honorable mention I do want to give would be Jester King's Pilsner. I stopped myself when I was talking about lager. What a delicious beer. I mean, last year, obviously, my Pilsner pick would have been probably Cohesion or Beer Shot Lager House when I got to go to Denver. But this year, it's going to be Jester King's Pilsner. Just absolutely delicious. Right short off the list, just like the La Chouffe. So there you go. That's my list for you guys. Post the comments below what you think. I got all the beers in the description below. Until next time, cheers. Later.